Don't you know drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere. You can't stop it. Gonna light the back up in a bowl and throw it for one day. Drugs are everywhere, drugs are everywhere.
Murphy. I'm a former heroin addict, current alcoholic, and you're tuned into Self-Medicated Weekly Dose, a podcast all about drugs and the people who use them. As always, this program is inspired by the harm reduction movement, informed by my personal experience using all sorts of drugs for damn near 30 years, and enlightened by my special guests. And today, I've got a real beauty on my hands here. You're going to enjoy this fella. He is a legendary musician, frontman of the punk DIY band The Ergs, as we all know and love. Most recent album, Love It Leads. Got to pick it up, got to listen to it. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Please welcome to the program, Mikey Erg.
Hello. Cheers.
Cheers, fella. Cheers. So, you know,
I was really hoping that I would hear that 15 song. So
yeah, yes, of course.
Stoked.
The theme song of the program, "My Congressman" by 15, spoke to Jeff Ott about that song. I've always loved that song.
Did you?
A friend of mine. Yes,
that's
yes.
awesome.
Randomly, I somehow came across, was through a friend of a friend, Facebook. When Facebook finally does, good every now and again. And a friend of mine, Madge Mold, who I dearly love, she mentioned this song, made me think of it. I was like, I wonder what I'm going to open with. What can I play? Should I get someone to do something original? And she just said, what about, this song kind of fits or whatever. So Jeff Ott's always been big into the harm reduction community. He was on the kind of needle exchange on the West Coast way back in the day. So 15, I fucking hopped on the horn with him. I got friend of a friend, knew him. I said, do you mind, sending my info along, tell him what I'm trying to do? He fucking hopped on the phone, went through it, got the label to sign off on. He's like, dude, just use it. Yeah, use it, man. That's great.
That's so cool.
That's fucking awesome. Cool. Amazing. So thank you to Jeff Ott and 15. Yeah, that's a jam.
Yeah, as a, I guess that song came out when I was probably late teens, and just fucking having that song, it just blew my mind that you could write a song like that.
Yeah, right?
And just be that real about,
honest and open, yeah, and angry, frankly.
Yeah.
A little pissed off in the perfect, this is the genre for it. It's like when you're raging against stuff, you got all the feelings feeling. It's like he pulls no punches in that song.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And here we are still, sadly, so many years later, and we're slowly working on it in terms of the harm reduction stuff, mainstreaming it a little bit more, just of the public health interventions just available for people. That's just
and I really do love that it's super prevalent to for people to be giving out test strips for to make sure fentanyl's not in your I've personally I've known a few fucking now at this point I've known a few fucking people that got the wrong stuff.
Yep.
And it's insane.
Yeah, dude. And when you're on the road, as well, we'll give a little peek preview of our substance report that's going to be coming up here in the episode. But on the road, it's like you grab, people are doing your party and you grab what you can grab. And when we were younger, not to date you, but we're both veterans of life. So when we were a little younger, it's like, sure, you mix too many things. People overdose. Absolutely, that was always a thing. But with this fentanyl flying around, people just don't know what the fuck they're even getting their hands on. Now it's a whole different ballgame.
The thing that doesn't really make sense to me is, I would think that fentanyl is a pretty it's not cheap, right? Or is it?
No,
why would you cut?
It is now to make so.
Okay.
The way because I think the way they've got this on a mass scale going out is that they kind of have the cartels are getting their chemicals and making this shit themselves. So I think chemically speaking, it's because actually heroin, you got to go to the poppy fields, you got to have people tilling the fields, getting the shit out, shipping it over.
Right.
This way, it's a lot cheaper, which is I think why it's a lot more.
So fentanyl you could just make in your fucking basement.
Yes. I'm just making a bunch of fentanyl in my basement right now.
Fuck yeah.
No,
and
it is.
Testing it
I think
to
it's
make sure it's actually potent.
Yes, yeah. I got the strips. That's why I have those kind of strips. That's every fucking person's nightmare who doesn't want those strips out there. They're like, see, they're making fentanyl in the basement with it. That's why you can't have it.
Right.
Yeah. But really, realistically, yes, you're right. I think that now that's everywhere and prevalent, it's like, got to have the strips out there. We got to take care of each other because it's like, drugs are going to be used. There's no way around that.
Yeah. I certainly think that it should all just be you should just be able to go to CVS and get whatever the fuck you want on a Friday night. Like,
yes, listen,
and know what you're getting.
That's
like,
right.
You know, the other day I was in Vancouver, and the new Pink Floyd remix box set came out. I was like, I want to just sit. I want to take a sativa gummy, and I want to zone out and listen to this new Pink Floyd remix. And I walked right into a fucking dispensary, walked out with a package of gummies, no questions asked, didn't even ID me. I was like, this is incredible. And I know exactly what I have 5 milligrams of
Yep.
THC.
It does what it's supposed to do.
I know exactly what I'm getting into. I know I'm not like going to be completely baked. I'm going to be nicely toasted.
Yep.
And I don't even fuck with weed all that much, but like just every once in a while, it's like you just kind of want that little thing. And I love knowing what you're getting.
It's civilized. It's reasonable. It's civilized. It makes all the sense in the world. There's never abstinence and this kind of prohibition approach has never, ever worked in the history of the world. So it's just like, it's the kind of thing where now you just have to admit. And what's weird to me is like for a long time, everybody was kind of on the side of like, this is a moral failure. You know, the drugs you do, certain drugs that you do, you know, the ones we're all okay with are fine, but like other drugs, those are bad. Those are scum drugs. So I feel like what's weird though is we've pushed, like, I'd say, I don't want to say half and half, but like it's pushed to a point where I think a lot of people are of the mind, well, yeah, drugs are going to be used. It's not a big deal if you do. Some drugs, you know, you get addicted to, that's, you know, a disease or whatever. So we need to like help people like that and treat them. There's people that are on the page with that, but where that doesn't really help us or where that falls short is that we're still just sending people to jail for this shit. So at the end of the day, you're like, either it's a classic thing where we just never go all in on anything. I mean, either go for it or go like the Duarte in the Philippines route, the guy who's just like shooting people in the streets for using drugs, which also, by the way, doesn't work. People are still using drugs, even if you're going to fucking gun them down in the streets.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you then, why are we doing this weird thing in the middle? Just make it fully legal, have the you know, public health interventions available for people to make sure they can do it safely, and then take care of people if they do it too much and they're addicted to it.
You would think they'd be all on board because it could be taxed, and you'd think greed would take over and people would, and then everybody's happy.
I think it really, what to me that I've always thought about that is like something I constantly think about is why is there not, with the taxing with everything else, it kind of then makes me realize how much money is being made by keeping it illegal through either, you know, the prison industrial complex of like, well, we got to keep, I mean, 80% or more of people in jail are there for, you know, for drugs and drug related offenses. So it's like, there's that. And then there's also just the international shit, like the interdiction that they've always been able to justify, like militarily, like, oh, we're over in other countries. Cause right now they're doing with the fentanyl, they're whipping people into a frenzy about Mexico and China. They're giving all the fentanyl. So it's like, it keeps the Pentagon rolling along. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of interest. Cause you're right. Otherwise you'd be like, tax the shit out of this. Like, and let it be out there for people. But it's an uphill battle, Mikey. I don't know if we'll ever get there in our lifetime, but maybe these kids will.
I mean, I'm pretty. It's pretty crazy for me to see how far pot has come.
I agree.
Like, I'm old enough to remember that. I mean, pot was treated with the same penalties as heroin and cocaine, you know.
Absolutely, dude. You're right. I think sometimes, as much as we always want to push forward, it is fair to occasionally look at, especially for all the activists and advocates who are out there fighting for this shit, like tooth and nail, to realize some of it has come. Like we've moved the needle. It's not the needle, to pun intended. We've moved it a little bit. And you're right. Because I remember growing up, weed was like, it was the devil's, the devil's, whatever the hell, the devil's weed.
And back then, like, there's that great Bill Hicks bit where he's like, if someone's fucking up your night, they're not stoned, they're drunk. Like, weed is so much better than alcohol.
I can attest to that. I've been both animals. I've been the guy, you know, kind of way too stoned and I'm just chilling. Then I'm giggling. I'm making very little sense, but I'm having a good time. But you know, you get too much of the brown liquors in me, and I'm out. I'm out and about. I'm on fire.
Oh boy.
So with that kind of in mind, we'll just parlay that right into our first segment of the show here. This is the substance report.
This is the question: do junkies' lives matter?
Now, look, Mikey, we all know the mainstream narrative, the mainstream media's narrative on substance use is complete trash. So we're going to take a look at the top drug-related stories in the news and give them some proper coverage here, you and me.
All right.
So this first one here, this is there's a lot to unpack with this, and I'm really interested to hear your take on this. So the first one here is this comes to us from Rolling Stone magazine. They did a very controversial piece. The headline says, "Inside Taylor Hawkins' final days as a Foo Fighter. The legendary drummer went all out for the band he loved, but in the months before he died on tour, Hawkins told multiple friends he, quote, couldn't fucking do it anymore." That's the byline there. So, yeah. So first off, I just want to say I'm not in the business, as you well know, of sensationalizing shit and making whatever. This is a fucking human being. This is a brutal situation, family, all that stuff. That's just sad. But the way celebrity goes is, of course, that's going to be dragged out through the mud in the media and everything else. But I do think this is an interesting one because it seems to me like there wasn't an acknowledgement necessarily, or there's some confusion, or they're not sharing all of the details. So just to kind of give people an idea of why I grabbed this article, this one takes the angle of like they interviewed some people who now have recanted their statements or don't like what they said. I don't know if you're familiar with this article or not, but for the listeners,
I am. Yeah. And
so basically,
I've heard from a lot of inside sources.
Sure.
In the Foo Fighters camp that it's complete garbage.
That this article is. Yes.
Yeah.
And it seems very, I'll just say there's a lot of elements, clickbaity elements in it, even though it's a very long piece that kind of tries to, under the guise of this tribute to this wonderful man who so many people loved and has collaborated with so many different artists over the years. But I think when it comes down to it, it's like, what's interesting about about his death is that they're suggesting here in this Rolling Stone article a little bit that he was tired. He had a heart condition. He's saying to the band, to the managers, to whoever, I don't know if I have it in me to do this tour. It's too much, coming off COVID, etc. I think then the angle there is, well, the machine moves on, so they book these dates, so they're just going to keep pushing them. That's what the article is suggesting. Again, definitely people recanted stuff, and that to me is more just like the sensational. That feels like a tabloidy kind of thing that I don't really, who cares to parse that? From my angle, what's interesting is just looking at this as like, sadly, once again, someone may or may not have overdosed. So this is another weird thing. The tox screen that came back from Colombia had a bunch of drugs in it, but these are drugs that there's weed in there. They said opioids, benzos, but
said opioids, but
that could be. I mean, he's an old fucking.
It could be anything.
He's a drummer, man. His back is sore. His fucking arms.
It could literally be, just a low grade painkiller that he was taking. That was. And I was just listening to, actually, just yesterday, I was listening to a podcast with Chris Shiflett, the guitar player of the Foo Fighters, and he was talking about how, of course, right when it happened, everybody was being their own sort of like Twitter private investigator.
Oh, sure.
And just looking for any answers to what was going on, and the first fucking thing you read is how much fucking drugs were in his system.
Yes, 10 different substances found.
Yeah.
Yep.
But, and it kind of fell under the radar that it's like, oh yeah, his heart weighed triple what a normal human heart weight, or whatever.
Yes.
Double or triple. And it's like, well, that was the fucking problem. He had a heart condition.
Yes.
I don't think it was the drugs.
No.
But, of course, rock star dies of a drug overdose is the...
Too sexy of a headline to resist, I guess.
Yeah, and, I don't... I mean, I don't... I assume that Foo Fighters were taking his concerns into consideration, but, I mean, also, they're one of the hardest working rock bands around. I don't... It's plausible for me to think that he was definitely I gotta cool it a bit.
Yep.
I don't know what their response was to that. I don't know, but
sure.
they fucking play all the time. They're on tour all year. So and those are tough. I mean, I've seen them live. Those are 2.5 hour fucking rock shows.
Go that long? Yeah.
It's pretty fucking long, and he's going the whole fucking time. It's exhausting having done that. When I play for an hour at most, and it's exhausting. When the Ergs got back together, our particular brand of punk rock is very, very fast and very kind of just like
Yes.
go, go, go.
What I love about it.
And we finished like the first show back, and Jeff and I were backstage like, oh God, like we can't fucking do this anymore. Like this is so tough to keep up that momentum for an hour is crazy. As at that point we were 38-year-old young men. Now we're 42-year-old old men. So yeah, it's fucking tough. So.
No, I get it. I mean, I get a little fucking haggard doing, one of these podcasts by the end of an hour in. I'm sitting on my ass drinking a beer right now. So no, I get it. I get that part of it for sure. It's exhausting. And yeah, he's 50 years old. Taylor was.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you get to a point. That's what I didn't care for the sensational nature of that either. That was the big headlines was all about these drugs that were in his system. But then you look at what that is. Most people don't, of course, go beyond even the headline, let alone like what does it mean, this tox screen of these drugs that were in there? But
of course, half of them were like antidepressants or whatever.
Sleep something, fucking Xanax to chill at night or sleep or whatever, whatever, lorazepam, whatever it is he's taking. But yeah, exactly. They're prescription pills. So this doesn't feel to me like someone who was actively using, because he also did overdose on heroin, but 2 decades ago or whenever that was.
Well, yeah, and I feel, at least my impression was that he was like completely clean.
Yes, was not using, or just wasn't using heroin
post the overdose. The overdose, but like, yeah, and the overdose was like 20 years ago. But like, so yeah, I was a little. It was surprising that there was anything in his system. But yeah, but they don't tell you what, and I think they're purposely not really saying what the tox screen meant because for whatever reason, but it's like,
that's what I'm curious about. They
if there were opioids in his system, it was probably just like, I don't know, like my back hurts. Yeah. Right, so like, I'm taking a
pill, and people don't with the black and white stuff of this like abstinence only treatment and stuff. And I've had plenty of conversations with this about folks in my family, dear friends of mine. Some people go the 12-step route, works for them, beautiful.
Yeah.
Most people it doesn't work for. So there's other ways around, and there's ways where it's like no shame, and whatever it is you need to do to be there and be present and feel good in your life, work through the whatever it's unpacking trauma that you've been through, whatever reasoning you've been doing, drug use that is harming yourself. Whatever reason you're doing that for, it's like, then, you come to terms with that. You want you just need people around. You need love, support, all of that. So whatever form that takes, I could care less about for other people. I think it's an individual thing. But I do think that like people don't understand then, wait a minute, this dude OD'd on heroin years ago. So he was a heroin addict. So then why he can't take a Vicodin, he can't take a Percocet. And that's also just not true. Like I think in terms of if you went to a meeting in that crew and the bubble of the 12-step, they would have an issue with that. Certainly, they would say you fell off. Like we're not getting that chip. You're not getting that chip next month or whatever that you're supposed to get. Yeah. Fine, like that is what it is. But I'm like, I think the problem with that I've found sometimes is that mentality then leads you to Bender Town, because I think if you do pop, if you do end up being like, oh man, my fucking back is just killing me. We got another couple leg of this tour to do. Yeah. Let me pop a Percocet or something just to get through, have for a couple days because it's killing me. And then you do that, and then you go, oh man, did I relapse? Like then I guess if I relapse until I go back to a meeting, I might as well. Who's got some Coke? Who's got some? Let me start drinking. Right. Like it leads to that sometimes. So I think
because every individual is totally different, right? I mean, there are people that can, do heroin one night and then never think about it ever again.
Yep.
Most
people actually, most people don't get addicted to things. For the amount of people who use drugs in this country, which is a lot, tens of millions, however many people do it. It's like a percentage that ends up with addiction. And that's, it's usually not about the drugs. It's about other, factors in life that have led to that. It's not just about, some drugs, of course, are more physically dependent, can lead you to physical dependence. That's science. That's true. But there's, I think, a mental part of it that you're right. Some people can just get high on something and go, not for me, and move on.
Or think it's great, but then okay, that was fun.
Sure. There's all sorts of, that's absolutely the truth though. Individuals, all sorts of drug use. We're like snowflakes, man. Drug users are just the quintessential snowflakes. We're all unique in many ways. But it does suck to see, because you're right. If that's what that sounds like this was, from all indications, no one was like, oh, he was diving back in or having a hard time. It sounds like he was at his most creative. in terms of collaborating with other people and doing stuff.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So maybe his heart, again, physically, if his shit was, not in check, then I don't know and we'll never know how much was said to, again, to go back to this Rolling Stone article. This is just whatever. This is what it is. No, people don't like the way they were portrayed. You talk to the media. I've been there myself. You got to watch every goddamn thing you say.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And in that Shiflett podcast, he was saying like that he's like, there's nothing in that article that's worth that holds any water. Like it's just not true. And and like I think like Matt Cameron and a couple of the other like his drummer friends like have since come back and said like, no, that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant.
Yep. Oh yes, exactly. You're taking it out of context. It was something I might have mentioned because you led me there with some leading. Like we've all talked to fucking reporters. We know how that goes.
Yeah.
They're little snakes. They'll get you.
It's very funny
You'll like
to read
something under your breath at the end of the fucking interview. Next thing you know, you're like, what is that? A pull quote in the headline? Jesus.
To read back an article and be like, oh, I thought we were off the record when I said that.
Yeah. I literally said, are we off the? You said yes. We're not going. You fucking skunk. So, well, fuck Rolling Stone with that article, but I just wanted to float it to kind of see, that it's out there and it's a thing that I just, to not have the shame involved with it, I think is also another thing to be like, look, man, let's just say this is what it is. A lot of people use drugs a lot of different ways, and it's no one's business whether he was popped a Vicodin or not, or opioids are in there. Who gives
and the real story is the fact that the drugs didn't make his heart that
grow to a double.
Grow.
So, he had
that's the fucking problem.
Right. He took that heart enlarging heroin that just it turns into the Grinch. It's like it grows 5 sizes that day.
You shouldn't even why were the drugs even like a fucking part of the article, the initial article? Like I remember the morning it happened. I was on a flight to Chicago to play a show. I get off I turn my phone on after the flight, and it's everything in my feed was Taylor Hawkins. I was like, oh my God, that sucks. And then of course, I think the first thing you read is the amount of drugs that were in his system. And I was like, fuck, like they're automatically portraying this as like a drug overdose.
And they won't let him off the hook because of that early, it's that too. Well, I'm sure they're just like, well, he's on the
because
record.
Because of where he was too.
Columbia,
that's the land of fucking, it's
yes,
just like,
yes.
of course he overdosed there because he probably had the best shit.
Yeah. He's probably with Pablo Escobar Jr.
Yeah.
Just banging out loud gator tail lines all night.
I was like, fuck, man. Like, that's not even a part of the equation. Like,
that's lame.
It sucked, but I guess we won't know really until they really
release, if they ever do. I mean, this is going on months now.
Yeah.
Well, it was beautiful to see his son, out there drumming and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of love there. So I think at the end of the day, that overshadows all the sensational nonsense coming out of the media.
I watched that entire concert, and then when he came out, I was like, well, there's the next fucking Foo Fighter. Like, he's got it.
Yep.
Like I was watching that as a drummer, being like, he does not sound like a 15, 16-year-old kid playing
nuts,
drums.
Isn't it?
He sounds like a monster. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Incredible. So
it's beautiful. Well, yeah. So there's
my money's on him joining the band in a couple years.
Hell yeah. Let's leave that on a high note, and we can slide on over to the fog of drug war.
War. It's fantastic.
So here's the thing. Every war has its foggy moments of confusion and chaos that can lead to very strange situations. So after 50 years and $1 trillion, America's war on drugs has had no shortage of strange moments deep in the fog that it has found itself in. So, Mikey, this is like, basically, we talk about policy all day, all piss and moan, nonstop about let's legalize it and whatever else. But this is more of like over the decades here, we've just seen this absurd approach present some very weird scenarios, very, very pop culture stuff, stuff from senators and Congress people, but also just in the Just Say No era and stuff. Just a lot of weird collaborations and a lot of strange things. So this one I particularly pulled for you. Just thought you might enjoy it. This is one I did not grow up see this when I was young. This was something I came across doing some research for the program here. So I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but the Flintstone kids had a Saturday morning cartoon for a while back in the 80s. And there was an episode of the program where Nancy Reagan kind of came in and did her Just Say No bit, and it was the Flintstone Kids Just Say No special. This was a very special episode where one of the kids in Bedrock is smoking some stony weed or whatever the hell it is, and they do this thing. So then that whole thing goes about. He tries to get Wilma to smoke weed. I'm just giving a little context here, but then at the end there's a concert promised by Michael Jackson. In the Flintstones world, everyone had their right. So Michael Jackson is doing a concert at the end to help the kids just say no. And this is Nancy setting that up, and then we're going to see this concert, and I'll tell you, it's a real piece of pop culture history. I hope you enjoy it.
Now the Flintstone kids welcome First Lady Nancy Reagan.
The music you've been waiting for is coming right up. But first, I want you to know that when you say no to drugs, you're not alone. Like Freddie and Wilma, thousands of children have formed Just Say No clubs and have pledged to lead a drug-free life. I hope you will too.
We now continue with the Flintstone Kids Just Say No.
So that happened.
Drugs are wrong, and you're right.
And you're right. There, that's the truth. Oh man. So that was quite the spectacle, I thought. And I don't know if you some fun facts about that is I don't know if you caught this in the credits there, but I'm just going to throw this credit up. Do you see who? So Michael Jackson's "Beat It" was the song. Special thanks to Michael Jackson. Music from Michael Jackson's "Going to Beat." Just Say No performed by Toya Jackson.
Wow.
Played and killed it. I think crushed.
Sounded exactly like her brother.
Did it not? I mean, when I first heard that, I was actually a little shocked. I was like, geez, Michael re-recorded this song like that.
So that's what I was, this whole time we were just watching it. I had never seen that before. And I was like, wow, I think this is legit. I think this is some,
Yep. And Nancy, I mean, I was if anybody could pull Michael out onto the stage to re-record Beat It for a Just Say No thing, it's Nancy. But I couldn't believe it. I saw LaToya. I was like, go ahead, go LaToya, just crush it.
That's amazing. Wow.
It's also funny that Michael was just like, no, Beat It, take the song, but I'm not going to be singing this.
I'm not singing it.
No, Lord, no.
You can use the music, yes, of course.
Yes, but yeah, I haven't slept in 8.5 years. Like I'm out here. I don't know what's going on anymore. So please don't make me do this. Right. Yeah, that's a strange one for the kids. I also think about, you think about when I was that age, but I didn't see it at the time, but I'm like thinking about watching that. And you got little Flintstone Dino like moonwalking and the Just Say No. Yeah. And again, it's the simplification of that message that of course has like become, already like, a dated hilarious. Like even when we were in like high school, it was already like Just Say No is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like in the fog there. I do like some of the strange stuff that it's just they've pushed this to the max in the budget. Again, I said $1 trillion you spent on this goddamn drug war. It's like that's what you get for $1 trillion. At least we're getting our money's worth for $1 trillion of absurd content like that. The drugs are here to stay. You're never going to beat.
It was fun to watch. Yeah, well, yeah.
All right. Well, let's slide into. I have a couple other things here. I'd like your eyes on and your ears specifically, because this. We're both babies of the Reagan era of the 80s, and during that time period, I feel like mid 80s to early 90s was in fact the golden age of anti-drug PSAs. I feel like the commercials, the specific. Now that one kind of was like that, but I'm talking about the real like 30-second spots that would come on. Your brain on drugs, egg frying bullshit. But there's some great.
I learned it by watching you, Dad.
There's another classic one. Yep. Just sits with that man. It also that man is crushed when he hears that. But yeah, there's been a lot of great ones over the years. So these specifically I grabbed for you because there was a campaign in the I believe this was the early 90s from MTV, and it was called RAD. I think it was like Rockers Against Drugs. Mm-hmm. So these are there were a bunch of spots. They had all sorts of musicians doing, which of course is fun for hypocritical reasons of you have certain people doing this where you're like, what the hell? But I pulled 3 of the ones that I thought were just weird enough and fun enough, because a lot of them are just like, great, Bon Jovi, don't do it, cool, like Nuge, right. The Nuge is really fired up.
Yeah.
But I pulled 3 that I thought were just fun, so I'll play them individually and we can stop and talk about them, just see what you think. These PSAs. When I was growing up, I actually thought the PSA stood for propaganda, stigma, and ALF.
Losers are users, so don't use drugs. Don't use drugs.
And in fact, does not stand for propaganda, stigma, and ALF, although that feels like the 80s to me in a nutshell. So here we are with these numbers. I'll play the first one here for you. See, I wonder if you can guess who it is in the beginning before he reveals himself. But this is our first RAD PSA.
Drugs are great. Drugs make me strong. Drugs make me smart. Drugs make me feel good. Drugs make me cool.
You believe that crap? Huh? You believe all that stuff they're handing you about drugs? You want to believe in something? How about yourself? Don't do drugs.
So I want to quickly point out, just be yourself, from the man who couldn't even show his face when he started that spot. He had to be a weird troll gremlin. Now I'm not familiar with Kiss. I don't love Kiss, Frank. I'll just be honest about that. I know you're a lover of most music, so I don't expect you to.
I'm a lover of Kiss.
And I love that about you. I've tried to make myself in life more. I say this to Diane all the time. I try to make myself more like Mikey Erg in life, because you love things even when they're not great. You don't have to put things on pedestals. You're a lover of things, and I think that's a wonderful thing about you. But that is
the idea of a guilty pleasure is not something that I subscribe to.
No, fuck it. That's so good. That's so good. Now me, on the other hand, I don't quite have that constitution. My Kiss stinks in my opinion. But I'm like looking at that. I'm like, is this a thing from the Kiss universe? This character, this troll, this gremlin, or
Gruel? No, it's not that I've seen.
Just for this spot. Just some great prosthetic makeup for this spot in particular. Okay.
And I kind of agreed with what the troll was saying.
He speaks the truth.
Drugs are great. Drugs make me cool.
Look, if I'm going to pick who I'm going to hang out with, the troll or Gene Simmons, I'm hanging out. You party with the troll. Of course you party with the troll. So that was the first one. I just thought that was a little very fun that they went to the lengths with the prosthetics and whatnot and the concept.
Yeah.
Again, even as a kid, I'd hang out with that fucking troll as an adult. If I'm a teenager, like I'm definitely, they think that's like, oh no, troll, ugly, bad. You're like, nah, dude, troll's got the good shit.
That guy.
So here's the next
guy knows
one.
At a party.
Yeah, the troll throws the jams, and we will not be playing fucking Kiss at those parties, if not at my parties. All right, so the next one here is a fun little message. Very straightforward. This is Belinda Carlisle.
I used to do drugs. And one morning I woke up, I looked in the mirror and I said, you look frightening. Nobody said quit. And nobody said stop or else. I got sick of it, so I quit. And now, life's the beach.
Wow.
So, it sounds like the takeaway.
It's just that simple.
It is that simple. You looked terrible. You looked in the mirror, and that was also a very vain come to Jesus moment, where you kind of looked in the mirror and you said, "Oh man, you look horrible. You just look like shit, Belinda." And that was it. And then I just stopped all this years of, no one had to tell me. It's a little bit defensive, it sounds almost. There's a little bit like, no one told me, and I just did it. I didn't care.
I mean, there's a fairly famous bootleg video of the Go-Go's having a nice little party.
Oh, okay. So life was a beach. Yeah. Is that what you're?
Life was definitely something. At that point.
I need to take a look at that. I should have done my research better. I would have had it queued up here. But yeah, I'll have to look at that later.
We couldn't show that on the internet.
Oh, that's also. Oh, okay. I see.
It's pretty graphic.
Oh my! And when is this from? Is this from their heyday?
From they like 81 or 82 or something. Okay. It's like a backstage video of them partying
hard,
doing other things.
Oh my! All right. Well, so no wonder it was just like I looked at that. She's like, I watched the footage. I went to the footage and I said, oh, yeah, that's terrible. And then now life's a beach.
Life's a beach.
Well, God bless Melinda.
God, that is such a funny. I just stopped.
Just stop.
Just
like
stop.
Even writing that spot, you would be like, well, no, we need something else. Like even if you didn't have your
it does not work that way.
No, it doesn't. It can't.
It worked that way for you. Thank God.
Thank you. And then you're like, you know what? As a matter of fact, why do we even have people here telling other people how their shit's gonna go? Because it's just nothing works that way. Right. So I don't know what the takeaway could be, but yeah, Belinda, it's not just like, hey man, I don't know what your deal is, but mine was look in the mirror. Mirrors do it every time. I didn't look in the mirror for 15 years and I ended up where I was. And then I looked in the mirror one day and I said, bye-bye.
Over.
All right. Well, this last one I think is, frankly, my favorite that I'd like you to take a look at. And just something, it's a warning here, and I apologize. This one's going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the day.
Watch out, watch out.
Drugs. I stop. You should stop.
Watch out, watch out.
Drugs. I stop.
Calling Lou Reed.
Yep, nailed it.
Drugs. I stopped. You shouldn't start.
Yes.
That reminds me of the Dennis Leary bit of Keith Richards telling people that you shouldn't do drugs. Keith, we can't do fucking drugs. You already fucking did them all.
We got to wait until you die and then smoke your ashes. is the bit. Yeah.
This guy wrote heroin, for Christ's sake, and now.
Well, so
now
what's
he's
funny
telling
about that?
me not to do drugs.
Right. No, with this one, they were just like, Lou, listen, we're going to have to at least acknowledge, like, you can't just skate through this one. You need to say, I stopped, meaning I know who I am, but I stopped. You shouldn't start. You shouldn't start. And also he's like, well, I'm doing a concept here. Like, I'm not just doing it. I'm not just going to talk. I want pixelation. I want like people in the streets, I need something here.
That is my favorite Lou Reed look. That era of with the cop glasses and the short
and
hair.
the leather, the Fonz jacket, the white T-shirt. Yeah.
It's good. That's like around the Blue Mask, I believe, or something like one of those like that.
Blue
those
Mask era Lou.
Mid '80s records.
When he had, I guess, stopped brief. I mean, there was some stops and starts. There were some stutter steps. I believe.
I would imagine.
Again, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? He usually gave us some great fucking music. And he gave us a dynamite PSA.
Heroin's an incredible song.
It's a great fucking song. It is, and it's so cheesy that's always like but yeah, as somebody who uses heroin, like I listened to that song on heroin a lot. So very corny, I know, but
it was definitely that record is
dynamite.
A good record to do drugs to.
It sure is. Some of them are. Some of them go from person using drugs, makes great music, people doing drugs, listen and enjoy the music. Sometimes that just works out that way. All right. Well, those were our PSAs. And we got to know a little bit about Mikey Erg throughout this episode. But I'm like fucking sweat. These goddamn lights. I need to go with no light. Like people are telling me, no, you gotta have lights. You gotta be well lit when you're doing a video part of the podcast. I'm like, most of this is for the audio, but so what the hell?
You do look beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we learned a little bit about you, Mikey, but we want to get a little bit, little deeper here with Mikey Erg inside the user studio. I always scramble to get my James Lipton glasses on, as never quite enough time. We end our podcast session with a weekly dose version of the questionnaire that was used masterfully for 24 years by the great James Lipton inside the Actors Studio. And the first question is, Mikey Erg, what is your favorite drug?
I'm going to have to go with... I'm an upper man, so... I really loved recreationally using Adderall.
Adderall, yes, the diamphetamines, yes, of course.
To go back to, like, you know what you're getting if you take a pill of Adderall.
That's right.
As opposed to finding cocaine somewhere.
That's right. Get your Adderall pills, the diamphetamines. I myself also enjoy a good diamphetamine from time to time. I don't crush them and bump them as much as I did when I was a younger man. Of course, they just go down the hatch now.
Those were the days.
Yes. We had a snout for it.
Blue nostrils.
That's right. Yes. There's a blue crust falling out of your nostrils. What is this now? I must have. I don't know what that is. Some bad pixie sticks. What is your least favorite drug?
Oh, well, I never saw. And I never got to dabble really, but I've had painkillers a couple times. And never really saw the appeal of the
Vicodin Percocet oxy.
Of nodding, just nodding out. Like
yes.
If I was ever wanting to take anything, it was always just to hang out more and keep me up.
Uppers. You're an uppers man. You're a drummer, of course. You can't have
exactly
nodding behind the skins. That'll be no good.
That is not right. Yeah.
What age were you the first time you found yourself under the influence?
Under the influence. I was a very, very late bloomer because there was definitely like substance abuse in my family.
Sure.
And I was scared of it. I believe I was 24 the first time I got drunk.
Ooh, 24.
And then made up for a lot of lost time right after that. Yeah.
What celebrity's overdose death has had the most profound effect on you?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably like, I don't know. There was like in the mid '90s, there were all those like Lane Staley and like all of my heroes, Kurt Cobain. Like even though that Kurt Cobain, I guess technically wasn't an overdose, but Shannon Hoon. Although actually, I feel like the answer is probably either Tom Petty or
Kurt Cobain
Prince.
was not. Sorry, just to clarify. Yes, Kurt was not, of course.
Right.
An overdose. It was a murder.
But Tom Petty, both Tom Petty and Prince died of accidental fentanyl overdoses.
Yes.
Like that they were just in pain,
prescribed,
and just took
mixing
too much.
I wonder if they mixed as well. There's sometimes mixing the because different doctors. I think with Prince the issue was there were multiple doctors who were left-handing were kind of like, well, I wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, and they're like
benzos and opioids are a dangerous combination.
There was like the pharmacy like down the street from him that would kind of just like give him whatever because he was Prince and they would just give him whatever he wanted. So yeah, that was those two were definitely like kind of the most shocking.
Yes.
Of like and just realizing that they were just doing it because their fucking hip hurt because they'd been dancing on stages for 40 years. Like,
yes.
And it's just shocking to like.
It is shocking.
How was it not more just controlled or whatever? Like,
yes,
it could have been avoided.
I hate to do this, but we're all complicit in some ways because we demand so much from these stars. We want more and more and more. You get into the machine. It's Prince. He's constantly. It's like, listen, you're an older fella now. Calm. Take a break for a while.
Just sit down at the piano. God damn
Couldn't
it.
do right with some dear friends. Maybe a hot cup of cocoa. Just sipping and playing some tunes. This is how I picture Prince with a nice Christmas sweater on.
That's right.
Back in Minnesota. Yes. Well, that's not the way that went, sadly. But I want to know, Mikey Erg, what is your favorite slang word for cannabis?
Oh, we were talking about the devil's lettuce. I think that's a pretty funny.
The devil's lettuce. That is correct. Yes. In the grocery aisle at your local grocer. What drug would you like to deal for a living?
Oh, I don't want to get into that. There's too much, You've
got your career.
I can't be going down for that.
Interesting. So then that answers the next question. No, I appreciate that. That answers the next question. What drug would you absolutely not like to deal under any circumstances? Also, all of them.
All of them.
Respect.
Yes.
Respect. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear Prince and Tom Petty say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Let's start a fucking band, bro.
A power trio. A heavenly power trio, indeed.
That's right. Both of them can play everything, and I can play drums.
As can you. Mikey Erg, here are your drug users. Oh, man. Hell. Well,
beautiful.
That was
now, were those questions from the mind of Bernard Thibault?
Bernard. Yes, Bernard Thibault. Yes, of course. The great French. Yes, in the spirit, they get more diluted as they go. They go from there to James to now to me, and we're discussing celebrity overdose deaths. But this is how it goes. Well, Mikey, thank you so much for joining me. That's about it. Unless you have anything else you want to riff on, want to party on, any more plugs if you want to hit them with the proper thing. I tried to do it in the beginning, but let people know where they can find you, and what you're working.
Check out Love It Leads. I'm Mikey Erg on all the social media bullshit. Ergs are going to be doing some stuff. Just keep a lookout. I'll update you on the devil social media once things are happening.
Yes, thank you so much again for doing it, Mikey. I love you, buddy.
Love you too, buddy.
This has been y'all Weekly Dose. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hey America, there's needle users sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.
Self-Medicated Weekly Dose is hosted and produced by me, Murph Meyer, with support from Pop Culture Collaborative. Our theme song is My Congressman by 15, courtesy of Jeff Ott and Hopeless Records. Original artwork and production design by Diana Kolsky. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the program, you can listen to new episodes of Weekly Dose every Wednesday. Just look for the Murph Meyer is Self-Medicated feed wherever you get your podcasts. While you're at it, subscribe to the Self-Medicated YouTube channel to see new video clips from the show each week. Follow me on Instagram at Murph Meyer. And for some top-shelf harm reduction resources, head over to selfmedicatedpod.com. Also, don't forget, you can call the Weekly Dose podcast anytime to leave me a voicemail message with your thoughts on drugs and the people who use them. Just pick up the phone and dial 443-MK-ULTRA. All right, that's about it for me. I'll see you next week. Love and solidarity. Goodbye. Weekly Dose.
Hey America, there's needle users sleeping with your children, with your daughters, with your sons, and with your husband.